Welcome back to CBS This Morning. George Floyd's killing is the latest in a series of incidents highlighting tensions between the Black community and police. CBS News has spent a past year looking into policing in America and surveyed more than 150 police departments all around the country. They told us about some of the changes they've made since the 2014 shooting death of Black teenager Michael Brown by a white police officer and the subsequent protest in Ferguson, Missouri. Jeff Pegues is in Minneapolis with why law enforcement professionals feel there is still so much more work to be done. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Gail. And of those 155 police departments across the country that we surveyed during that year-long investigation, Minneapolis PD was one of them. And 75% of the police departments that responded to our survey said that they changed their training after high-profile, controversial police-involved incidents. But is that training enough?
Get off of him now!
George Floyd's death is the latest in a long line of police-involved incidents creating nationwide outrage.
I can't breathe!
In March, Breonna Taylor was shot and killed by Louisville police inside her home during an alleged botched drug raid. Michael Brown died at the hands of police in 2014. Eric Garner died the same year, making the same plea as Floyd. And the list goes on.
These problems did not start in the 2000s. They have been around forever.
Matt Johnson is the former president of the Los Angeles Police Commission.
You saw it in the incident that happened in Central Park with Amy Cooper.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
When she called police and said, I am being threatened by a Black man, she knew exactly what she was doing. These are historical problems that go back to slavery. If we think that we do a week of de-escalation training or a week of anti-bias training and we're going to solve all the problems, we're totally fooling ourselves.
During our year-long investigation, we visited departments across the country to see their training practices. In Mesa, Arizona, we saw virtual reality de-escalation training. Firearm training in Ferguson.
We take people, we put them into boxes.
And implicit bias training in New York City, where officers are taught how to identify and minimize the impacts of negative stereotypes. At least 69% of departments who responded to our survey told us they have racial bias training, including Minneapolis Police. They said they've been teaching bias training since 2015. And de-escalation training since before 2005.
I don't know that it opened my eyes too much.
This Phoenix officer told us during our investigation that implicit bias training can do more harm than good. We agreed to hide his face so he could speak freely. Will it change how you do your job?
No.
Why not?
I don't think I was doing it incorrectly to begin with.
What do you think has come out of these changes that you don't think are good?
Officers second-guessing their actions.
Sounds like that could be dangerous.
Deadly.
Black men are still more likely to die in police custody than their white counterparts. Spike Moss has been an activist in Minnesota since 1966.
Our people been watching this over and over again. Our young people don't even know how long we've been fighting because the news suppresses the message. They're tired. They're tired of being abused, tired of being beaten, tired of being killed.
Gil Kurlikowski spent more than 4 decades in law enforcement before joining the Obama administration. He believes officers have a duty to intervene when they see bad behavior.
If your partner is using inappropriate force, inappropriate language, you've got a responsibility to take care of your partner and to stop him or her from doing that. Often the frustration of officers is that I'm not like that. I don't want to be judged by what Officer Chauvin did. And yet the reality is they know that they all wear that blue uniform.
Johnson says training needs to be backed up by strong policies to hold officers accountable.
You need to look at who you're hiring. Demographically, does your department reflect the demographics of the city? Are they policing their neighbors or do they live 50 miles outside of town? What behaviors are you rewarding? Who's getting promoted?
He says there are no shortcuts when it comes to earning the trust of the community.
You have to put yourself out there on a regular basis in the community, and then you have to actually show progress. It's not enough to just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. And I think people are rightfully skeptical right now. They've heard the words before, but then we keep finding ourselves back in this situation.
The Minneapolis Police Department told us when they completed that survey that all of its officers had completed de-escalation training and implicit bias training, and that they had refresher courses at least once a year. And what that means is that the officer at the center of this case, Derek Chauvin, would have completed those courses. Anthony.
Yeah, and yet we're telling the story all over again, Jeff. Thank you. Ahead, the worldwide response to George Floyd's death, how protests turned violent in Paris because of a case there involving a police and a black man. And a reminder, you can always get the morning's news by subscribing to the CBS This Morning podcast. Hear today's top stories in less than 20 minutes. We'll be right back.